Hello, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Dog Trainer. I think I took off last week, and I've been really good about doing a podcast each week. One, because I really love it. It just feels like such a cool platform to be myself, and I don't know why. But okay, so last week, let me catch you up. Okay, first, I'm all over the place. I think I'm very excited to talk with you today. This episode is all about bringing a new dog home or a new puppy home. So a new dog would be any age, a new puppy home, a puppy. I like to think of a puppy as like 6 months and younger. Some dogs are still very puppy, around 6 months, 7 months, but that's how I like to kind of, um, put a line in the sand for age. So we're going to get into, if you're watching the video, look at all of these that I have, all these questions. So you asked a lot of great questions, and we're going to get into it. First, I wanted to tell you a little something about an owner coaching session that I did yesterday. I just think it's interesting. I hope it's helpful for you. I hope it's reassuring. It's about e-collar stuff. As you know, I like to talk a lot about e-collar things on here. I like being open about it. I think that a lot of you are using an e-collar now. We have our guides, our e-collar starter guide, plus the videos, Reactive Dog Handbook, Guide to Separation Anxiety, which all of them go through exactly how I use the e-collar for all those things. I also think that there is stuff that when you get into e-collar training, there's expectations, or you only see trainers sharing certain things on social media. There's only so much we can share. So I feel like this is a safe space to talk openly about the struggles, the ups and downs, clear expectations about what e-collar training actually looks like, talk through problem behaviors, and when something pops up that you weren't expecting, hopefully we can address that in this podcast. Okay, first, before I forget, as many of you know, but I always feel like just in case someone's listening for the first time, I like to give a little ode to my dad. He inspired me to get back into podcasting. He passed away last November. I'm really actually nervous about this November. It's going to be a year since he passed away. Oh my gosh, it's going to make me cry. So I actually planned on taking the whole month off from like being on social media and maybe getting on a podcast if I felt like that, but not having any training dogs. I've just never been through anything like this. Those of you who have lost people that you love very much, you'll be able to relate, I'm sure. But I actually took off a couple of weeks last week and the week before from Instagram. It just sometimes gets to be a lot where I feel like I get into this spiral of constantly checking. I always want to answer the messages that I get almost immediately. Like if I get on, that's my instinct to answer them or reply back to comments. And it sometimes can feel like it's sucking the life out of me, where I really do enjoy connecting with people through Instagram. It's been a big connector for me, which I've loved. So I took off those couple of weeks, and it was so nice just to, focus on Bobby, our dogs. We had the hurricane that came through, and we're okay. We got out, no issues. We just didn't have power for a couple of days. But anyways, what was I saying? Okay, so I was going to just say, my dad used to say in his podcast, because he had a podcast, he loved it, and he would always say, "I've got my cup of Joe. I'll wait for you to get yours." So, long story short, this is, for him, because it helps me feel like I keep his memory alive, and like my screensaver is still his face, which I think maybe would make a lot of people sad. Like one time Bobby asked me, "Doesn't that make you sad?" And I think the idea of not seeing him every day would make me even more sad. But I always come back to anyone who is grieving someone or has been through a loss like that. Something I always come back to is, what would my dad want me to do? And how would he want me to live my life? And just how he would not want me to be sad and sulking around. So he would love that I'm doing this podcast. Anyway, okay. So I wanted to share about the virtual owner coaching session I did yesterday, which, by the way, I offer these. They're 30 minutes, $65. I think it's a great opportunity just to feel reassured. I do them with trainers as well, like business coaching, I guess. But I love talking with you all through those sessions. It's just a really great way for me to get a clear picture about what's going on, so I can give advice that I would not be able to give in a message. So yesterday I was talking with someone who, she's been through a board and train about a year ago. And I think this is one, hopefully reassuring for any of you who have been through board and trains and you're still struggling a bit. I think that there's a couple of things that play into this, and this is not definitely not a knock on the trainers, because the trainers are awesome and great at what they do. It's okay, so I'm going to share what I think the missing pieces are. So she's struggling with some reactivity towards people. And she had one of those moments where I'm sure a lot of you can relate, where something big happens that really shakes you and you're like, oh my gosh, like now I know what my dog is kind of capable of. We were doing good, rocking and rolling before this. And then that happens and you reach out to someone for help, or you reach out to a trainer, or many of us have been through that. So for her, it was they were sitting in a cafe and someone walked by, which other people were walking by, and it wasn't an issue. Her dog was laying down. And again, her dog is very well trained, knows all the commands, all the things. And all of a sudden someone walks by and like gestures or something, and her dog, I think growled and like barked and went and nipped at his pant leg. So of course that's very startling. It's like, oh my gosh, like I think it's very easy for us to hold on to those moments because they can be kind of traumatizing. That might sound dramatic, but those of you who have experienced, it. It's just like when I was walking, and I think it was like 3 weeks ago now, and two off-leash dogs rushed me. Now, when I go out, I'm a little extra nervous, even though I've been through that before, but I have like this back issue going on where it's so much better now, but I feel like one little thing can really tweak it. So I'm a little on edge. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be on edge. It's just, we hold on to those memories. It's very normal. So for her, she was just thinking like, she feels like when she's using the e-collar, it's making things worse. So a couple of things that stood out to me, and I think this is hopefully helpful for you all. And I'm not going to go crazy because this is a new dog puppy episode, but I'm hopeful this is helpful for anyone who's been through training. And I know there's the whole theory of, you feel like your dog is better with trainers than with you. That's very common. And she even said her dog went back for boarding with the trainers and none of these issues popped up. Why is that? So, she's a super awesome owner, very aware of her part, and she feels like her dog is feeding off of her. I also think there's something that has nothing to do with the reactivity. It's more about routine. So when you think about a board and train program, why does it work so well? And in my opinion, it is highly structured, highly structured. Now, there are some times towards like the end of my program is 2 weeks. I am a board and train trainer, but at the end of the 2 weeks, I'll give the dog a little bit more freedom, maybe walking around our house some, or I don't know, nothing like sleeping in my bed or something like that an owner would do. But it's highly structured. So a couple of things that stood out to me that she could do that has nothing to do with using the e-collar on the walk, because that's a separate thing. That's we could talk about that another time. I've talked about that in a couple of reactivity episodes, the reactivity masterclass, how I use the e-collar to address reactivity. You can go and take a listen to those episodes if that's something that you struggle with. But that aside, there's some other things that I think have a big impact on how a dog views their owner, which makes a difference when you go somewhere. Does the dog think that they can get away with getting up and nipping someone when they walk by? Or if the dog was with the trainer, would they do that? Probably not. I think the reason for this is it's a daily schedule problem. So when I was on the call with the owner, the dog was walking over and kind of sat next to her. And so she showed me the dog, which is super cute. The dog also sleeps with her at night. Now, this is something that it does not mean that everyone should not have their dog sleeping with them. But if you are struggling with your dog and you've been through a board and train program, and she even said when her dog got back from the board and train, her dog was great, like no issues, everything was awesome. And then it started kind of bubbling up, these little issues. So she's not kenneling her dog because her space is really tight. But there are a couple of things that she can do and that you can do too if you are struggling with your dog and you've been through training. It's like, what am I doing wrong? I like to break down problems into actionable things that you can do, because sometimes it's hard when you're working through like unpredictable reactivity. How do you set that up and address it if you can't really predict when it's going to happen? I want you to start looking at things that it's kind of like the building blocks of your day. So for her, the first thing I said was, let's go. When her dog got back from training, he was not sleeping in bed with her. So I said, let's go back to that. think about how your day was when he got back from training. What was it like? Think of it as a reset. It's just like a training reset. And some of us need that from time to time. It's like a nutrition reset for me, or like Whole30 has always been very appealing to me because it's very clear boundaries and it's 30 days. I can stick with that, even if it's challenging. So for you, if you're struggling a bit, come back to some kind of a reset. No sleeping with you at night. Try it for a week, try it for 2 weeks and see how it goes, but stick with that routine. More place time than not. If your dog is walking around, like during our call, this is not to like, cast judgment on the owner. It's just, I'm pointing it out in case you are doing this too. Her dog started growling at the window and she showed me, and her dog was looking out the window, and they were at a new place for the weekend and looking out the window and growling. If she is struggling with some kind of reactivity on walks where her dog just thinks that he can get away with certain things, that is such a small moment. But if it's just, it screams to me too much freedom. You're giving your dog way too much freedom, where what I would love for you to do, and it's just a little switch, put your dog on place, recall your dog over, put him on place. So less free roaming, more place time. And then if you feel guilty about how much place time your dog is getting, take him on a nice walk, come back, place. So those are just 2 things that I think if you're struggling with any of that stuff, go back to the basics about why did it feel so good when my dog got back from training? It's because it was highly structured, and it's much more exciting to follow up with that kind of structure when your dog first gets back from training, because you spent money on it. It's an investment, but all of us get loosey-goosey and we let the structure slide. So if you're struggling with, let's say, reactivity or any kind of anxious stuff or reactivity towards people, go back to what worked when your dog got back from training. Okay, so I could talk about this forever. I feel like if I was an owner, I would like to hear this, because I might, pick a little something where I'm like, oh, I do that. Like, oh man, I need to stop letting my dog look out the window. Let's do place instead. Like if you just make a switch like that and it makes a difference, that would make me so happy. All right, let's jump into what this episode is all about. Okay. So puppies and dogs. So I'm going to say, when I read the question, I'll either say, this could be for a dog 6 months and older, or this is specifically for puppies. Because I think both, like when we brought home our dog Johnny, who I'm pretty sure was about 5 months old, they told us 6 months, but he seemed more puppy. Some things that worked really well. I'm currently writing a new guide. It's the New Dog Owner Starter Guide. So don't steal that title, please. But it's everything I want to say to people who first get a dog or a puppy. I'm not like a puppy expert, but I've raised 5 of them. So I've learned mistakes along the way, and I've learned what works really well. And so I just want to share that stuff with you. So this episode, I'm hoping that it will help someone who just got a puppy or is about to bring home a new dog, so you can kind of do your homework and get ready. Or you have a dog, add a new dog to your house, and some of these tips will help. Okay, first, someone said, not a cue, but the importance of crate training. Okay. I was just telling someone who asked me about, he just got a chocolate lab puppy, and he's struggling with a couple of things. What should he be doing? Puppies, the 2 most important things I think you should be focused on, not teaching them a bunch of tricks, not even really worrying about training, quote unquote, a consistent kennel schedule, and using their food for training. If you do these 2 things, you're going to be so far ahead of the game. Now, I even think the crate training thing is the most important. Using food for training, put that aside. Unless you're like really excited to work with your dog on stuff, I would use their meals. Like one person said, what if how to train a puppy that isn't food motivated? My puppy won't eat treats. Most puppies, I have yet to meet a puppy who is not food motivated by their meals. So what I would recommend, don't use any treats, only use their food. And even if it's raw food, get some gloves and use that food. But if you put maybe all of their kibble in a treat pouch and you go on a walk, you're trying to get your puppy to walk with you, you're not going to get them to walk perfectly, but you can encourage them with what you want them to do. Every now and then when they start walking next to you, give them some food. It takes a little bit more work. So I always like to think, like whenever I have a puppy and I want to use some of their food for training. I'm a morning person. I have no desire to do training in the afternoon or evening. So I dedicate some of their breakfast to training. Not all the time, but like I've been doing this with Johnny. He's about, I don't even know. How long has it been since we got him? Like 7, 8 months. I've been using some of his food just for him sitting when I stop, and I reward every now and then, not all the time, but that's been really fun. But don't use treats, only use your dog's food, because puppies are notoriously super excited about their food. Now, if, excuse me, you're saying that, let's say your dog doesn't want to take food from you, that's okay. Like you could just use a toy, you could use, and again, a puppy, I'm thinking 6 months and younger. You could use verbal praise. It's kind of like finding your dog's love language. I say quotes around those. I don't know why. It's really fun throwing quotes around things. I think it's just the hand gesture that I like. But you could find what motivates your dog and use that. Some dogs are very high drive. They love a tennis ball. Use that. Like if you're teaching place, have a tennis ball, hold it over the place cot, have your dog get on, give them the ball. Yay, good. So whatever encourages your dog, it doesn't have to be food. There's a lot of different ways to reward puppies. But again, go back to using their meals. So crate training, something I've shared before about Johnny, who when we got him, he was about 5 months old. And crate training was the most important thing to me. One, it is so helpful for potty training. Two, it gives you a break, so you don't always have to watch your puppy. Three, it helps them feel more confident when away from you. So like someone asked how to prevent separation anxiety. Kennel training, kennel training, kennel training in a separate room. So I have a couple of crate training tips that I think are really helpful. Like when we first got Johnny, his kennel was out here, which is our common area. It's where I like to watch TV. My kitchen, which I love going into a lot. So it was hard for him because he could see us, which is hard for a dog to settle. Like someone also mentioned their dog has FOMO. Puppy. Yeah, puppies, they want to like be all up in your business. So what I recommend, if you can, put your dog's kennel, your puppy's kennel in a separate room. Close the blinds, turn the lights down, put a white noise fan in there, which will kind of drown out some noise. It can even drown out if they whine a little bit. If you get irritated by whining, which I do. So that, and then also it drowns out noises from us walking around. So you don't feel like you have to tiptoe and like, I don't want to wake my puppy. So those are a couple of my first tips. The other thing is I think a lot of people assume that their puppy is going to want to go in the kennel, or if they fight against going in the kennel, putting them in the kennel is bad. This is no, 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 no. So for the first week, I think, of having Johnny, I had to pick him up and put him in, where sometimes he would like put his paws where he was like, no, don't put me in the kennel. But I know how valuable kennel time is. And just because he doesn't want to go in doesn't mean I'm not going to kennel train him. So it was like the first week of any time I'd put him in, I would pick him up, carry him in, put him in. Day 3, so much better, not like trying to resist going in, still a little bit of whiny stuff when he'd go in. Ignore that. Also, if your puppy starts barking in the kennel, this happens. Puppies don't love, I'm telling you, kennel training is the most important thing you can do for your puppy. It does not mean they're going to love it. Quick story, because this has worked really well for us with our puppies when they would bark in the kennel. I have a neighbor who he has at the time a young black lab puppy, and he knew that I was a dog trainer. Also, we grew up on the same street growing up, and then he's around the corner. Wild. It's cool. And he was like, oh my gosh, we're not getting any sleep. Can you please come over and see if like we're doing this right with kennel training? What can we do differently? And puppies, you're going to have to wake up in the middle of the night. That's part of getting a young puppy. So sure enough, I go over, the puppy's out, and then we put him in the kennel and he starts barking. I go over and take one of the kids' toys, and it's a truck or something. And I stand by the kennel and I wait for the second that he starts barking, and I go and hit the top of the kennel. Now, it's kind of rare that I feel like a magician as a dog trainer, because this isn't really like dog trainer genius. It's just from experience that this worked really well with our two young dogs, Lou and Theo, when they were puppies. And right away, because it startles him, that's the point, to startle them out of the barking. And he curls up, lays down, goes to sleep. I mean, I swear, it was like, I felt like such an awesome magician. I really did. It felt magical. And I was like, well, I mean, that worked for us with our puppies. I was hoping it'd work for you. There you go. And that was it. So for the barking, if you have a young puppy, that can work really well. If you have a dog that is a bit older, like 6 months and older, that doesn't always work well. You might have heard of like a bonker, which I don't use those. I'm not against it. Oh, my nose is like running. I'm not against it, but I just don't really use them, where it's like you roll up a towel and you hit the kennel with it. That could be an option, and I'm sure it's worked well for some of you who are listening. But the whole point is just to startle them right when they start barking. I have found that to be super helpful for really young puppies. With Johnny, he wasn't doing any barking. The first day I had some serious adoption blues because he was whining, loud, biting at the kennel door. And I was worried he was going to have separation anxiety. And the next day, though, it was easier. And it was easier because when we put him in a separate room, we did that evening. And so much better. He was whining a little bit still, but I could barely hear it, which is helpful for my dog owner's sanity. Okay, so kennel training. Please, 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 if you're a puppy owner. And also, schedule-wise, just always think about after any potty time, outside time, supervised playtime, please supervise your puppy, or else they will go and pee in the corner. It's just, they're puppies. They're going to chew up things. Don't expect them to know how to behave when they are a puppy. Supervise them. It's just like this morning, because we're getting a little bit more laid back with Johnny. The more we have him and the more well behaved he is, and just he's used to our routine. And he had one of my socks in his mouth, and he loves to carry things around, so it's also really cute. But a puppy could chew that up or whatever. So after any outside potty time, a supervised free time, put your puppy in the kennel, because then what happens, puppies need so much sleep. So much sleep. I mean, I think when we first got Johnny, and he was about 5 months again, so he was in the kennel most of the day. So I would take him outside. We would like walk around the pool. That's how I would get him to follow with me, which was really fun. I actually looked forward to walking around our pool, and he'd go potty, started getting into a routine of, okay, he goes pee almost right away. He poops twice a day. Now it's so cute. I need to get a video of this. Before a poop, he always zooms around. And when he's zoomy, his back legs pretty much go under his front legs. So it's like his whole booty is tucked in. And see our pool guy walking around. If you're watching the video, it's a little distracting. But that's his like tell. But after any outside time, we'd come inside. I'd put him in the kennel. We didn't come inside and play. We did sometimes because I really wanted, if I wanted to have him out, or I would start to kind of see how he'd be if I'm cooking in the kitchen, and he would just like sit out there with me. So he wasn't being super mischievous. But if you get into that habit of outside time or supervised free time, it could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. It could be like an hour, but I feel like puppies, if your puppy starts getting really snappy, using their teeth a lot, and just, it's kind of like, and Johnny does this too, where it's like they take it to another level, where it's like, oh boy, okay, like, I don't know, just like moving around a lot, or like very zoomy after, being outside, going potty. And I'm like, okay, it's time for kennel time. So with puppies, it's like, if your puppy feels like they're just like kind of going a little crazy with being super nippy or just zoomy, it's probably nap time. And I bet when you put them in their kennel, they probably will pass out. You might get a little fight from them, a little barking, whining, but stick with it. The more you stick with it, the better it gets. And like with Johnny, about a week in, it was such a big moment. About a week in, putting him in the kennel, I brought him into the room, and I wasn't holding him, and he went into the kennel on his own. Huge moment. I was like, I came out, I couldn't believe it. I told Bobby I was so excited. It's like, oh my gosh, it's working. So stick with it. I swear it will pay off big time. And it's such a great way to reinforce confidence in your dog from being away from you, which leads to less separation anxiety. And I love the thing about having a dog in a separate room so you can close the door. They get used to being on their own. If that's possible, I know some people have tighter spaces. You can always put like a blanket over the kennel, that kind of a thing. But yeah, I think kennel schedule, is that good? Let me know if you have any questions, but it's going to feel like a lot of kennel time. But if you have a puppy, they need a lot of sleep. Okay, how to help with puppy biting. So for me with puppies, again, if it feels like they're just like going at you, there's a couple of things that I would do. So what I've done is redirect. Again, this is 6 months and younger puppies. Redirect, giving your puppy a bone. I like to have a chew toy or something that only comes out at certain times. It's not like they can have it in the backyard, inside, in their kennel. It comes out at a very special time. Like if you want your puppy to be out with you, but not biting on your arm, bring out a special chew toy and give that to your dog. Something else that we've done, I think that was the thing that helped the most, because there's other things like you can press your puppy's lip under their teeth, because their teeth are so sharp when they're really young. Sometimes that can deter a puppy, but also if your puppy is being super nippy, and you've redirected with a toy and they're still being nippy, it might be time for a nap. That's usually my tell when a puppy is just like going at you and they've had like outside time, some free time with you, playtime, whatever. That usually is an indicator that it's time for a nap. So those would be my tips. There was a lot of questions about how to introduce a puppy to older dogs. So if you want to see how I introduced our puppy Johnny to our dogs, you can go look at his highlight on Instagram. I have a Johnny highlight and a Johnny 2 highlight. The Johnny highlight, the first one, I shared a lot about introducing him to especially our older dog Theo, who's very selective with the dogs that he likes. He's also a very big dog energy kind of a dog. So it was a slow intro. I think a couple things to keep in mind is dogs' temperaments. So some older dogs are totally fine with puppies. They're not like gonna growl or get upset if a puppy is, nipping at them or being super playful. Puppies are puppies. So their energy is usually much more wild than older dogs. Some older dogs don't like that. So there's a couple of things. One, I want you to be aware of your older dog's energy. Like our dog Sadie, who passed away a few months ago, she was a great dog to introduce to puppies because she would correct them in a really fair way where she would like or like nip at them, but it wasn't like going after them. So it was really good to help the younger dog understand like some boundaries, just using how a dog communicates. But for some dogs that didn't work. Like when we got Theo, who is the reason that I am a dog trainer, he's our big dog energy dog. When he was a puppy and we got him around 3 months old, he didn't care what Sadie did to him. He kept trying to go after our older dogs, like just grabbing on them and shaking, and no correction from an older dog would do. So if you are bringing in a young puppy and you have an older dog, one thing I like to do is I'll have the puppy on a leash and just walk around the backyard. So getting your older dog to come with you, that's also giving you some boundaries with the puppy, so that you can, it's not like you're just letting the puppy go up and run up to the older dog, because for some older dogs that can not be super fun for them. Again, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of in your face stuff, which some dogs don't like. So I would recommend using movement. I always like that. It's just like with Johnny and Theo. I had Johnny, I think initially the first couple of times on a leash until I felt like he would just follow with us. And I started to see the dynamic between the two of them, where Theo was, Johnny was so submissive, which was a perfect balance to Theo's big dog energy. So, and you can see in those stories, I just think it's so fascinating. It's like National Geographic Dog Edition. But Johnny was just such a perfect match for Theo because he was so submissive. If he brought the same energy that Theo had, it wouldn't have worked well. That would have been a longer intro, where like I initially thought, I'm okay if this takes us 1 to 2 months to introduce them. But I just started to see with Johnny, his temperament was much more mild, which I thought would be helpful. I thought if Theo growled at him or something, because Theo is a very vocal dog, that Johnny would back off. So it wasn't like if he was a puppy who would just get up in Theo's face and like just constantly, and he wasn't like reading the room, that would be an issue. But so how I like to introduce is like that, having the puppy on a leash where I can like walk them around. You could also have the puppy in the kennel, see how your older dog does when they're around each other. Also think about long game. It doesn't have to be right away that the dogs are besties. Okay. And I know what this is like. It can really stress you out if you feel like your dogs aren't getting along. Like the person who texted me about his chocolate lab puppy was like, he has two Cavalier King Charles dogs. And he said when the puppy goes up to them, they like show their teeth and growl. And I was thinking, well, yeah, I mean, because that's how they communicate. They're just saying like, hey, you're a lot of energy. Can you back out of my space? But a lot of times owners don't, they're not reading the dog's body language. They're taking it as, oh no, my dogs don't like him, or they're really just trying to set boundaries. Like, hey, chill out, puppy. Okay. So when that happens, give your dogs their separate space. This is why, again, kennel training is so helpful. So you can put your puppy in the kennel. Please do that compared to a pen. You can do the pen. Like I'm not a huge fan of it. But if you want to do that, at least so they have their separate spaces. But that or going for a walk together, like we did that a lot with Johnny and our dogs. And I just love using movement. I feel like it's a great way to get dogs kind of moving as a pack. But the thing with our dog Theo, and again, this comes back to all dogs are so different. So pay attention to your older dog and what their needs are. Do they need some space in between them and the puppy? Then give that to them. Don't just let the puppy go in and let them figure it out, because that could really turn into a hot mess. So just, you know your dog better than I do. But like with Theo, we took Johnny on a walk with Theo, I remember, and anytime Johnny would come close to Theo, Theo would growl like really loud. And I was like, oh no, like this is not going well. This is not what I was, hoping for. But really, that's just not how Theo likes to be introduced. He's one of those dogs where if he feels any kind of leash pressure, he's like, it's kind of like it ignites the fire. It's just his indication of like, oh, I need to do something. So he's just very sensitive to leash pressure. So we decided to introduce in the backyard the next time with Johnny on a leash and Theo off leash. He's e-collar trained, so I could always use the e-collar to say no to any intense stuff. I get asked, I was getting asked a lot about when introducing Johnny to our dogs, how was I using the e-collar with like Theo? I really wasn't using it so much. I might use it just to interrupt any like intense stuff and create movement. Like, let's go, come on. So it might be a tap on the e-collar just to interrupt and redirect kind of a thing. But I love using movement for introducing puppies to older dogs. Also, it helps you see what the dynamic is kind of like. Read the body language. It's like, you don't have to be a dog trainer to do this. Just follow your instincts. So if you see that your older dog is like kind of playful and like, some older dogs love puppy energy. It just depends on the dynamic. But using movement when you have like the puppy on a leash, walking around your backyard or something like that, it helps you see how are they together. I talk more about this in another podcast episode, how I like to introduce dogs. So I would take a listen to that. I probably talk more in detail, but that's how I would start. So I hope that's helpful. How to set boundaries with both dogs when your first dog is a resource guarder. So boundaries to me equals structure. So that could look like kennel time, place time. So if you have a dog who resource guards, I would be very careful about when you let resources come out. One, feed the dogs in their kennel. Please, oh, please, oh, please. I think this is something that seems obvious to me, but a lot of people don't do this, where it's like an owner I worked with recently where her dog would like show her teeth towards the other dogs when they'd come close to her food and they weren't getting fed in the kennels. Such an easy way to just negate that is feed them in their kennels so that then they have their own space. They can eat their food. You take the bowls out, let them out. It's just going to be so helpful. Don't have resources out that your dog guards. Don't have a toy bin overflowing on the floor. Take that up. Dedicate time to each dog to have some kind of resource. So if your dog likes to chew on a bone, have them on place while your other dog is in the kennel. Crate and rotate for stuff like that. That's what I would recommend. Also, the e-collar is really helpful for a really powerful out command, so that if you see any of that nonsense, you can say no to that. So how I just like to do it, I teach out usually just by when a dog picks something up, I'll say out, tap, dial up a bit, out, tap. So I say out and then tap. The reason for this is then out means more when you say it down the line, where you don't always need the e-collar. Super powerful way to just add like, hey, drop it. You can say drop it too, but I just like, you can say leave it, but I like out. Super simple. But that's what I would do. How do you handle individual time with each dog and their schedule with everyone, with a FOMO puppy? How do you handle individual time? So we have 4 dogs. And the only time that I felt a little bit like, oh, I'm not spending enough time with someone is Charlie. Because he is my sweet angel boy who's like 11, 12. And I feel like with Johnny now, because I also am very attached to Johnny. So I feel like, oh my gosh, am I not giving Charlie enough time? So like this weekend, like, because Bobby usually will run with Lou and Theo in the morning. So that's like their time. Like this weekend, we took Charlie and Johnny on a car trip to a place that's like 30 minutes away in a cute little small town, and brought both of them. So you can always make time for dogs. I heard something like, it was such a good quote. It was about people, and like, it's not that people don't have enough time, they just don't care enough. Well, that's awful. Don't listen to that. But with your dogs, just make the time for them. Crate training is so helpful for that, so that you can have 2 dogs in the kennel and take 1 dog out for a walk. Also, if you have a puppy with FOMO, this is a great training opportunity. You want your puppy to be okay on their own. So again, check if your puppy's kennel is in a separate room. I would highly recommend that. Make it a darker room if you can. Put in a white noise fan. Highly recommend that. If you're not crate training, please start crate training your puppy, because it's just so helpful. So you can give them their own space and then take your other dog on a walk or do something special with them. But I feel like my dogs don't really need, they're just also different, and I have Bobby, which I think is helpful. So he really dotes on Lou and Theo, by doing stuff they love. And then we have outside time in the backyard with all of our dogs. My dog Charlie is very independent. So he doesn't like cuddle and like, Johnny's young puppy energy. It's like he has a young schoolboy crush on me. So I'm like, I want all of it. So I think that's normal with getting a new dog. But if you feel guilty, do something with your other dog. I think creating a nice crate schedule is really helpful for that. So you can crate and rotate. And then if your puppy has FOMO, then that is a little bit of a red flag. Like, we need to add more kennel time throughout the day where the puppy is on their own. So don't just do it when you take your other dogs out. Do it when all of you are home and your puppy goes into the kennel. And it's just normal routine. So that's what I would say. Let's see. What would you work on with a puppy before they're old enough for e-collar? So I would use their food to teach things like place, down. Oh, down, please teach down. Name recognition. So like I did that with Johnny in the backyard, where I would say Johnny, and he didn't always come to me, but I would like say Johnny and like move backwards, like in a really fun way, to encourage him to move with me, Johnny, and give him a piece of food. So that recall, you could really use food for anything with puppies before e-collar training. I think that's really helpful. What is the question? Someone asked, if it's an adult dog and I want to use the e-collar, should I start on day 1 or wait a few days? So this is, so I'll just speak from experience with Johnny. So when we got Johnny, we were told he was 6 months, and I went into it because I think I was so nervous about getting a new dog already that I felt like, e-collar training is going to be so helpful. We're just going to go out the gate with e-collar training. And if anything, like start to teach tone, things like that. Or I was treating it kind of like if I got a training dog in, I would start on e-collar day 1 if they had any crate issues or whining or stuff like that, to try and interrupt that and all that. Looking back, I would probably wait a couple of days. So this isn't to say you shouldn't use the e-collar. I still was using it for tone, like the sound, which I liked. But I also like, I think it's because I'm a trainer, and I know you, Jess, you train dogs too. So um, it depends on you and if you want to. I don't think it's bad to not do it. I don't think it's bad to do it. I think that e-collar training is beneficial across the board. It's not like you're putting it on and correcting on high levels for things. I think that's what a lot of people assume, e-collar training sometimes looks like. But for us, we're creating a new communication line. For me, with Johnny, it was so helpful for recall. But I also, looking back, the most important things to me were crate training, which I didn't have to use the e-collar for that. I could have if there was like major barking or stuff like that, but there wasn't. So it was more like patience is what he taught me. And I also like the idea of kind of getting to know a dog without training that feels like it's a training dog I just got in. I don't know if that makes sense. But I think if you want to, do it. If you don't, you don't need to. So I found with Johnny, a big part that I really enjoyed was kind of just getting to know him and using food for things like recall and reinforcing things that I really wanted more of. E-collar training has been so great so that I could have him off leash. So I love using the e-collar for that initially. So yeah, if you want to, go for it. But I also think an adult dog is a little bit different. Like with Johnny, he just had that young dog energy, and it kind of felt like I've mentioned before, I really wanted to get another dog after we had a training dog named June in, who gave me such puppy fever. And she was like 7 months old, but she just had that new dog energy of like you were watching her watch the world for the first time. Like having her in the car and watching her watch things around was just like bliss to me. It just felt like Disney songs should have been playing the entire time I had her here. She just gave me so much joy to watch her experience the world for the first time, like seeing things for the first time. And so with Johnny, it kind of felt the same way, where that's really all I cared about. I didn't care about getting him to walk perfectly or get in heel or things like that I would prioritize with a training dog. But I did love using it for recall. Tone was so great. I loved doing that in the backyard. And again, I would just use tone, no stim initially, tone, and then reward him with some food. So that was really great. But yeah, I think if you want to, go for it. E-collar training is great. I think starting on day one, starting with structure on day one, it only sets your dog up for success. And then you can kind of figure out their personality. That's the most fun thing about getting a new dog, or adopting or getting a puppy. It's just learning about them. And it's so different than when you're working with a training dog. That's what I've realized because I have way more time. So with Johnny, I just like in the last few weeks, I was working on the down command with him on the couch, which by the way is super enjoyable. So, because I like him being on the couch with me because he's smaller, and like I want him to lay down on the couch though. I don't want it to be like zoomies on the couch. So that's been really fun. And for the first time yesterday or this weekend when we went to that cute little town, because he's such a nervous dog, he's really nervous of people. So I want him to lay down when we go out somewhere. He laid down when like Bobby went in to go to the bathroom, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is the best. So the e-collar and training is no doubt about it. It's so helpful. So sure, if you want to do it on day one, go for it. Let's see. Choosing name pro tips. This is an interesting question because this is so personal. I have no pro tips about names. I just try and think of names that I'd want to say over and over. I think it'd be way more scary to come up with names for human children because that's like a lifetime. It's harder to change that, I think, but you can always come up with nicknames. But like with Johnny, I have no idea how I even came up with it really. I just liked it, and I don't know anyone that I don't like with that name. You know how because you think of a name and you're like, oh no, like David would be a funny dog name, but I know someone from elementary school. His name was David, and I just didn't like him. So then I can't name my dog David. It's just, but David from Schitt's Creek. Oh, hello. That is like, it's like happiness every time you say it, because then you think about his sister and how she would say David, and so someone name your dog David, please. But yeah, I think just try some different names, see how it feels. I always like to think about different, uh, you know, nicknames that come after that you could come up with for a name, but it's always like nicknames can be so different from the actual name. It's like Theo, we call him Bubba. Louie, we call her Boo Boo. Charlie, I call him Charlie. Johnny, I call him Johnny. Yeah, so that's personal. Best setup ahead of arrival. So if you have a puppy, get a kennel in a good space. Um, I would have a treat pouch ready so you can carry food with you if you go do something. It's just so much easier than putting it in your pocket, something like that. Have like a leash. I like a flat buckle collar on a puppy because it gets them used to having something around their neck. You could, of course, do a harness if you want, but I like having something around the neck because I do find some dogs are much more sensitive to stuff around their neck when they've only had a harness their whole life. So that's something to think about. But have a kennel in a good space, and that's really it. Like, have your spot ready. I think it's more like get yourself mentally prepared to like wake up in the middle of the night if you have to. Get into the habit of just get ready for, kennel time after anything active, any supervised free time, that kind of thing. Um, uh, doesn't understand where the spot is to go pee, although we have routines and limitations. So this, I would have a leash on, go out to the same spot every time. I'm assuming you're going outside. So have a leash on every time, go outside, say, let's go potty. Say it like 15 times. You're going to sound like a crazy person. But then as soon as they go potty, yay, good. But having a leash on your puppy will be helpful. Yeah, with Johnny, I said, go potty, and he wouldn't always do it right away, but we have a backyard, so I can just supervise him and kind of wait him out. I don't need him to go potty right away, but I do love a dog that knows go potty and they go potty. So I said that to him. We'd say it all the time, and it was like a couple weeks in where finally we would say it and he would go over and go potty. And now he does it all the time, where if I say, go potty, and he'll walk over to the grass and go pee if he has to, if he hasn't yet. So just same spot, verbal reward for going potty. Yay, good. That's really helpful. And yeah, just keep trying, Okay, so then I got a question. Okay, someone asked how to avoid leash reactivity. So I like this. I love the let's prepare, let's be proactive so that we don't have to struggle with this later. Okay, couple things. Don't let your dog say hi to every dog in person on the walk. Make it, if you're going to have them say hi, because I know sometimes that's nice, make it very seldom. Be particular. Don't just let your puppy say hi to every single person. I want your puppy to focus more on you than other people and dogs. Oh my gosh, my nose. Another thing, I would avoid dog parks. The only reason is a lot of times dogs then start to associate dogs with excitement. And so then that transfers to the leash walking and they see a dog and it's like, playtime. The one thing I will say, and this might be, this is going to be my little, okay, we're about to end. It's 48 minutes in. My little dog trainer confession. So I'm not a huge fan of dog parks, but here's what I will say. Our first two dogs, because I knew nothing, Charlie and Sadie, we took them to the dog park a lot. They are the most okay. They're very social. What I mean is they're totally okay saying hi to people. They're totally okay saying hi to dogs. They're both really balanced dogs. And I think that is because we kind of did things wrong in the beginning and just their temperament. So, and one time, like with Charlie, when we were going to the dog park, because they would just go crazy in the car. It was stressful, but I didn't know it was supposed to be any different. One time, Charlie jumped out the window to go to the dog park because we were almost there, like insane. But I will say that some dogs benefit from things like dog parks and doggy daycare. Don't hate me for saying that. I'm not a huge fan of it for people who are struggling with reactivity. If you find with your dogs that going to doggy daycare, going to the dog park is making your dog more excitable on walks, then I would cut it out. But for Charlie and Sadie, they were great dogs, with people, and they went to the dog park a lot most of their life. So, and we stopped it because one dog tried to attack them and it freaked me out. And I was like, oh, people don't have control over their dogs. So we stopped going. And there's a lot of other things like, there's diseases at the dog park. I don't know, whatever. They can catch stuff. So you just never can really, know for sure that all dogs there are going to be good dogs for your dogs to socialize with. But that is my unconventional opinion because I don't know. It's in the proof of who our dogs were. So we have not gone to the dog park with Louie, Theo, definitely not Johnny, because I just prefer not to. I like to socialize them with us, with off leash adventures, and we have our own little pack, which is helpful. But I don't know. That's some people might not like that. It feels very anti-dog trainer of me to say. But I think all dogs are so different. I think some dogs can go to the dog park and it's a great social activity and they're totally fine on walks. It just depends on your dog. It's just like people. We all need different things. Some of us are lactose intolerant, while some of us can devour a whole thing of ice cream and be so happy and not gassy. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. Okay, so, and then someone said, how to handle new adult dog that is hyper and pulls on leash and jumps up when getting leashed. So this is just a dog who needs training. I would recommend e-collar training. I'm going to give a shout out to our e-collar starter guide, which includes 30 videos, and start there. Start to create a new language using different tools, and you just need more control. And so using different tools really helps with that. Even if this is your first week with your dog, if I had out of control stuff like that, I would for sure hop into training mode and, start to really lay a foundation of, hey, okay, these are the rules. So I would add in some structure like kennel time. I would start to teach place. And if you're not sure what that looks like, you can go and look on our Instagram page at Walking Dog Training. Go look at any of the dogs I've worked with. Rocky would be a good one. He is a dog who at drop off, he got off of his collar. He was like jumping all over us, jumping way more than I've ever seen a dog on drop off day jump on me. And because some dogs jump and it's like, oh, that's, expected, whatever. This dog was so much energy, not aggressive, but it was like aggressive excitement, happy energy, where he was just like jumping all over, got out of his collar. We almost lost him on drop off day. So you can go watch his highlight to see what it looks like. He'd be a perfect highlight to watch. Okay, I am running out of air to breathe, I feel like, because I'm talking so much. So I hope that this episode was helpful. If you would like me to answer any other questions, you can always reply to this. I think you can leave a comment on the podcast. Let me know if you have a question and I'll do my best to answer. If you have any questions about training resources, I'm going to link our training resources that are all virtual in the podcast episode description. We have our e-collar starter guide. That's what I would start with. We also have training bundles where you can get things on at a discount, which is so nice. Our new updated reactive dog handbook, going over exactly how I use the e-collar for reactivity and so much more. Also specific links to podcast episodes that I think will be helpful for you based on different problem behaviors. And then our guide to separation anxiety, which is all about how I use the e-collar for separation anxiety. So if you are struggling with separation anxiety, you haven't gotten to e-collar training, I would look at our bundle, which is it's our anxious dog bundle. So you get both for a discount. So that's what I would do. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. And I'm back on Instagram. Did I tell you I took a break for a couple of weeks? I'm back on, but I've realized you can do screen time boundaries, like on your phone. So I'm doing that where like if I post something, then I post in ghost. I might post in ghost for like the rest of the day or something. So I'm not constantly checking. I think that's really helpful. But anyway, okay. Do you need to know that? I don't know. You like my nail color? I feel like this makes me very happy. Because it's supposed to be fall weather here on Thursday. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much for being here. Till next time. Bye.